welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Rod, Todd Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMiles24, Yu Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Kenna Bear, Fiber Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neeland, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Damage though. There's Nick here. It's worn. See that damage there?
So go to a scrapyard. Go to a scrapyard and see if you can get the replacement bits.
Let me show you the seat what I was talking about. See? This goes all the way freaking back. And you can't reach the pedal. And it leans right into the captain chair. So this only seats 1, 2, 3. Maybe my little son could sit back there and get crushed. But yeah, I'm going to sell it right away.
Well, get yourself a little booster.
Yeah. I felt like I was driving a boat yesterday.
Hey, Brian.
What's up, Brian?
Just quickly, Nathan, when the after show is over, I need to give you a call for 5 minutes.
Yeah, no worries.
Just 5 minutes.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Yeah, so let you know. Okay. Nice.
I've cranked the volume up on the show again today.
Why do you feel the need to do that?
To practice, if it was a song, you'd master the song so that it was roughly the same volume as everything else on Spotify for the sake of argument. It's just the same principle. It's not a music track, and it's not as critical because you don't need it to jump out of the speakers for a listener. If someone has clicked on the link, they're going to be listening to it, and the chances are they don't mind adjusting the volume. But what I want it to do is line up with the volume of the adverts. That's really the main purpose. I want the adverts to be a similar volume so that if you're listening to a really good point get made, and then suddenly abruptly, which they do, they insert the ads at the time they think is the most appropriate. If you've got, buy Colgate today! You go, holy crap, what the hell? And you can run to your iPad or wherever you're listening to and turn it down. Only to then turn it back up again the moment the show restarts, right? After the ad.
Well, the thing about that is, are you sure that YouTube will do that? Are you sure that YouTube won't bring the advert out over the top of whatever volume you have?
No, there's only a certain amount of limit that you can use. There's only a certain bandwidth, if you will, that you can use. So there's a certain dynamic range that YouTube will allow. Yes, it's compressed, but the trick the adverts use is they compress to all hell to get it to sound as loud as possible. Now, while I won't be able to achieve that, I don't want to crush the living daylights out of the show because it will sound unnatural. But what I do want to do is, and I have been for the last few days, is just edge up the volume. Not the overall listening volume, just the peaks. So I'm giving myself more dynamic headroom, if you will. So that if something does get loud, it can potentially get much, much louder. Or if 2 or 3 people are talking all at once, there's more stuff going on. It's like playing 3 instruments on a song. You get more volume. Do you know what I mean? Or at the very least, more perceived volume. Well, I want that to sound like there is actually 3 people talking. In other words, whatever device, if you're listening on a phone, you still want it to work. And that's typically what I'll monitor on a phone, an iPad, and the main system that it's recorded on. Well, the other day I did it in the car, which is what they do with music. They just, the advice is go and play it on as many systems as you can if you've got a room that's not 100% accurate. Well, my room is almost 100% accurate. It's very well treated. But that doesn't mean to say that I actually listen to the show back with ads on YouTube on this system. I don't. But when I put it on the phone, put it in the car, just plugged it up with a jack up to the stereo in the car and listened, I was like, oh, it sounds really good. I was really impressed until the adverts kicked in. And then you're like, whoa, bloody hellfire.
Yeah, but the only thing I'd say, not against, I don't want to say I'm against it because it might be kind of a moot point, is obviously most people that are listening to YouTube and shows like yours on a phone, and a lot of them are listening through Bluetooth headphones these days and headphones in general. But some people don't. They'll have it at work and they'll have to have the headphones, not have their headphones on, but they'll want to have it playing next to them. And they might have to have it down at a low range so they can hear it when they're working, but it doesn't disturb those around them. Whereas if you're bringing up the basic volume of the show, that low range might get them in a put those people
quite
in a situation.
No, it's the other way around. The more dynamic the show is, the more you have the ability to turn it down and still hear it. But that's more to do with how well I can compress the show into a format that works well on a phone. Now, again, like I say, I test that, and I'm pretty confident that on a phone, if you turn it down, you can still make out what's being said. A lower volume, it just means you've got more room to go louder. But the overall,
okay,
yeah. I mean, I'm not a sound engineer, but I've spent the last 3 years learning how sound engineers compress songs, because there's nobody out there going, this is the way you would compress a podcast to get it to sound good on all devices. Nobody's that fussy. They are with music, but I'm that fussy with just the show. I want it to sound great, which is to say that no one will notice the sound. But people will, any little thing like that, like the ads being massively varying in volume compared to the show, is something that people will notice, and they'll just sigh and turn it down and then turn it back up again. But I don't want them to do that. I want them to have 100% pleasant experience with the show.
No, I get you. No, 100%. If you can do all that and they can get to hear it even more clearly when it's down low, that's all around better. My knowledge on mastering is limited, right? Pardon the pun for those who understand that. Right? The basics of my mastering was that I would be making something years ago, and I'd have to. It could sound great on my headphones, then it sounds terrible on the computer, or great on the headphones and great on the computer. You put it into the car, and it sounds absolutely atrocious. Yeah. So I only know some basic stuff about it. Like you always start if you're recording 6 dBs below zero, or whatever. This kind of thing. That small things like that. But you're dealing with a live show, so it's a bit more because you want it to come out live in the way as good as you could make it. When it's recorded.
Correctly.
Well, yeah.
Exactly. What you're describing is the difference between mixing stuff and mastering stuff. So if you're recording something, the worst possible scenario is that it distorts in the recording because there's nothing you can do about it. Therefore, you want something with a lot of headroom, a lot of dynamic range in the recording equipment, and then you just record lower because you can just add gain afterwards. All that happens is it introduces noise. Now, that was a problem in the 80s with analog recordings, but the noise floor on digital recordings is so low that even after you add a shitload of gain, it doesn't matter. You're not going to introduce any significant noise floor to whatever you've recorded. But then you've got to get it to sound loud. But that's the mastering process. Well, the two have to be kind of combined when you're doing a live recording for broadcast. Because all 3 things, that is to say, live recording, mixing, and mastering are all essentially taking place at the same time. Which just makes it a lot more complicated. But I've got to compete with people who are just recording at 6 dB below and have got limiters in the place to stop it ever distorting. And they're then going to post-production to make their video and edit their video, and they're just turning it up. I can do that in a pre-made video. It's dead easy. You just look at the levels going on the little chart, turn them up till they're nearly at clipping, and then stop. It's really easy. But it's not so easy when you're doing it on the fly with everybody talking and you're trying to have a debate with someone. Then it's nigh on impossible because you're concentrating on too many different things. So you've just got to find a happy medium. And then kind of leave it there. But I'm pushing. This is where the reason I'm noting it is because I'm pushing past those limits. So at the moment, my limiter is at -2 dB, just below digital distortion. But that's like I say, because when you flick between videos on YouTube and you're up against like a music song on Spotify would be other tracks that are much louder that just jump out. That's what you've got to compete with. But still retain the quality. I can't go back and do another take, can I?
No, you can't. No, I understand it because it is what you're talking about. If you can get it right, is a big bonus, because that is a big annoyance that everybody hates when they're listening to something and an advert comes in and it's 20 or 30% more in volume. Well, that's how it appears to the listener. And it blows the ears off the people. Yeah, you don't want that. Because it still happens during live shows. They'll still throw an advert in a live show.
The other thing that I have to balance is me, personally, because the room I'm listening to is good for monitoring, which is to say I can hear things clearly. It's also very good for recording because it's a very dry room. But that means that my perceived volume is actually quite a lot louder than your volume. So as I watch the meters, I know that I need to be roughly 5 dB in averaged volume, perceived volume, than everyone else for it to not be jarring when I talk. Now, that's not just my perception of it. In fact, I've even metered it after the recording with an SPL meter to see exactly where it lies on the needle, because I'm going, oh wow, I seem much louder. Now, if I only go down a couple of dB, suddenly I seem much quieter. So there's a real fine balance because this room is so good to record in. It's actually in some ways working to my detriment when it's compared to other people who are just in some echoey room. But again, these are just little things that you just don't think about. You don't think, well, once you get your room really clean and there's no reverb in it whatsoever, are you going to suddenly be really badly contrasting people who aren't? And the answer is yes, you do. It's just really noticeable. I'm looking at my meters now going, I'm probably too loud. But I'm not. I'm exactly the same volume as everyone else on the panel.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people a lot of people never realise that mixing and mastering are two completely different art forms, if you want to call them an art form. Because I remember watching, I think it was Dr. Dre and someone else, two separate incidences on separate shows or something on television or on the internet, and they were getting their music mastered, but who they went to master the music, they didn't master it themselves. It may not have been Dr. Dre, but it wasn't Dr. Dre, it was someone of his ilk and his stature within hip-hop. And who they went to master the music was this old hippie guy who was renowned for being an expert at mastering. And he was used by people from way back in the 60s or 70s. You know, all the big rock bands and all this kind of stuff. So some guy in California, and this guy was such an expert, that's where people wanted to go to. You know, so even though they were experts themselves at mixing and doing all the things they needed to do to get it mastered correctly and professionally to the level, to the degree they wanted, they went to this old guy.
There's a guy I watch called Streaky who summarises mastering really well. So if live recording is obvious. You put a mic in front of something, you record it, make sure it doesn't distort, make sure that it sounds nice. Okay, that's fairly simple. Well, once you've got a whole band and you've got all of them down on different tracks, you've then got to mix them together and make them sound good in a combined manner. That's mixing. That seems really obvious. What's mastering then? Turning the volume up. That's what mastering is. Making it sound good when you've cranked all the levels up and it sounds good on whatever format you're putting it out for, because there's various formats. So a mastering engineer will say, right, well, where do you want it? You want it on record? Well, that's going to require a very different set of rules in terms of how I master it to if I'm putting it out on Spotify, where it's going to be running in an MP3 format, compressed to all hell and competing with everything else that's had the levels matched so that they come out at this roughly same volume of the speaker of the person listening to Spotify. Well, that's what a mastering engineer does. Oh, you want it on a CD? Okay, well, that's a different set of rules. And so it goes on. But ultimately what they're doing is they're cranking the levels to make it sound good when it actually comes out the speakers. That's what they're doing, as opposed to making it all sound nice and balanced when you mix all the music together. But that's what I'm doing. I've got to make sure that each line that comes in, including myself, isn't distorting, recording. Then I've got to make sure that they all roughly balance with each other and you're all sounding roughly the same volume and no one's got a sort of perceived louder volume, even though their peaks are the same as everyone else. All of that's got to be balanced up and mixed together. And then at the end of that, I'm now at the other end of the stage where I'm confident that everyone's mixed together at roughly right volume. And there's enough regulars in Discord for me to have already adjusted all of their lines internally in Discord. Now it's just crank the volumes, and then I can't do this on the fly. It's just if it's distorted on this show, when I go back to the iPad and go, oh God, it keeps distorting every time it hits a peak, I just have to lower the limiter and leave everything else the same. So in other words, all the compression settings all stay the same. It's bumping up to a similar point, so the perceived volume's about the same, but the peaks aren't as high. Well, little things like that are just what I'm tweaking now. Like I say, just because I didn't know that the ads were so much louder, and it wasn't until I played it on a phone in the car that I noticed. Anyway, fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it is interesting, but you'd have to have an interest in it. Isn't it one of those kind of things?
Which I do. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
But it's like I said when I did my GoFundMe campaign to get replacing the amps that are aging and blowing up and blowing caps out of their chassis. It's great for music to have really high-end amplifiers because you need all the dynamic range in the world to get, all the different instruments to sound wonderful, which was great when I was a hi-fi enthusiast. But it's like, well, life moves on. I'm not a hi-fi... I'm still a hi-fi enthusiast, but I'm... I can't continue on a brown ale budget with a champagne taste. It's just, you just have to move on from that and go, okay, fine, I can't keep the Ferrari, which is what my amps are the equivalent of. They're equivalent of Ferraris, which is great. And now they're coming back fixed. I found out today. You can phone me back today. Wonderful, but I'll just have to flog them. So I can buy replacements that obviously won't be anywhere near as good, but don't need to be. I don't need huge amounts of dynamic range to listen to you guys talking through a compressed voice chat system. It's just not necessary. So downgrading in that respect, I don't think will have any detriment whatsoever on the performance of the show, which is when I run the campaign, which is how I pitched it, which is to say no one's going to care so long as the show works, which with them blowing up all the time, it's not. Occasionally, there's reached a point where so many amps are in repair that I've literally gone, I can't power the show, I can't do it. That's how we got to last time I did a GoFundMe campaign for amps. It's like, physically, I can't run the show, I can't hear you. I haven't got any amps to power the speakers that the sound comes out of. But anyway, enough of my moaning.
Yeah, I understand it. Because you need to be able to hear what you need to be able to hear everything that's happening. And if you're missing stuff, it'll be obvious.
One solution is stick headphones on. It's like, yeah, I could stick headphones on, but as much as I've separated myself from the kids so that they're not screaming while the show's going on, they are still on the other side of a door a good chunk of the time. Now, I need to be able to hear things like the door going because stuff comes, and you occasionally, very rarely, you'll hear me, in other words, the wife's out and the kids are here and someone comes to the door. Well, in the case of that, I've got to go and answer it. You can't just leave a parcel outside or whatever it is that the door's gone for. And in those circumstances, I can't just have headphones on. It means that I'm suddenly completely detached from stuff that's going wrong in a house, which is what this is. Yeah, it's a studio and I'm running the show, and I don't typically want to mention these things. But unfortunately, there is still a home functioning while the show runs. And that does mean occasionally there might be an emergency that I'd rather not have headphones on to be distracted from, the fire that one of the kids has set or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand it. No, wearing headphones is not something that would work out for you. No, because it's into there. You don't get, and you're probably going to end up with headphones that aren't in your headphones, but over your headphones for that job, for what you want. And they might be very good headphones, but they'll make sure you can't hear what's going on. There is some good Bluetooth headphones that are expensive, but they allow in outside sound.
Yeah, Bluetooth is horrible, Brian. I tried 3 different Bluetooths, and it just doesn't come. It just doesn't come across clear enough. Echoes.
I'm here. I'm using Bluetooth all the time. The Bluetooth headphones I have, they're not expensive.
Really?
Yeah. I'll send you on what they are.
Send me what they are, because if you sound good like that, and you're saying you could hear us good, then that's what I'll use.
Neil was speaking, and it was very hard to hear him. We can't hear his panel, and they can't hear us, obviously.
One of my lines is balled up by the looks of things, so I changed one of the lines yesterday because I was getting...
I think it's this line, Nathan.
Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know why. I've done a couple of updates. I did a couple of updates, and it's changed various different things, including my stream deck, and it seems some of the lines. That's slightly disconcerting.
We can't hear Brian or Neil or anything. They're all muffled. We've been shouting you for ages.
They can't hear any of us?
No, not very well. It's very, very bad. We've been having jokes that we've got globe proof shouting down the mic. No one can hear us. We can hear Nathan, but we can't hear.
Yeah, for some reason you're on the PC line. That's okay. I can change it. I can just change a few settings. You just have to be quiet for a second in Discord. There we go. Voice and video. Check. Can you hear me in Discord?
Yeah, we can always hear you. It's the panel we can't hear, and you wasn't able to hear us.
Now. Can you talk?
Can you hear me, one deck? Am I
That's
coming
better
through?
now, yeah. That's good, yeah.
Okay.
Neil, go on.
Yeah, it sounds good.
How's everybody doing over there? But I'm driving, so...
That's it. We can hear you now. We couldn't hear a thing. It was like you was in a cave.
What's happening is it's for some reason, since doing the Windows update, it's defaulted all of my lines. It's probably done it with... The most reliable is G+, and that's just working as normal. So I can only assume that it's just Discord. When you do a Windows update, it just resets all of the lines. Fine.
Why
it was hilarious listening to you talk about sound.
About how wonderful my sound is while you guys can't hear me. Yeah.
It was hilarious because we're all saying, what master engineer, you got the sound, so we're all saying things in the background, so you can't even hear us.
Brilliant. How appropriate. Yeah, you were just on the wrong line.
I thought I was having a stroke. I could hear one deck talking, and Nathan was talking over you, and I'm thinking, wait, what's going on? What's happening?
Yeah, I've got the PC line, which is normally the line that the audio for things like the videos we cover, that was muted along with my Skype line. So the only lines that were open were Discord, G+, and my mic, which makes sense, right? But then I glanced up and I'm like, oh, is there a video playing? Because a line that's closed, I can still see it flashing up and down, just in grey, right? I'm like, oh, where's the video running? So I'm looking around, and then I look across to Discord, see that there's lights flashing. I'm like, oh, suddenly 2 and 2. Okay, so Discord's on that line then. So yeah, easy solve. Not my fault, Windows update.
Yeah, I think it's okay to blame Bill Gates.
Yeah, it's because I haven't got an app. I don't use the app for Discord. I just use Chrome. So presumably when you reset Windows, Chrome is going to reset various different audio outputs for some reason. I don't know why, but they've all just gone back to default. So you were hearing my mic just clean. Am I quieter now than I was before the chaos?
Yes, you are.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's how it should be. You'd have to turn me up if you turn me down. But comparatively, I might be a little bit quieter than the panel, correct?
What do you say? Speak up a bit.
You sound at the same level as the panel.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, that's even better then.
The panel have gone. Where's the panel gone? Have they gone?
No, they're all there. Say hello, Arwin.
Hello, not Harwin.
Hello,
Arwen.
Hi. Dude, what's going on
Yeah, it's all
today,
good this
man?
side.
My moderation was completely disabled in my chat.
Probably just a glitch.
We've had-
Could you hear Arwin talk?
We've had the sound engineers in.
Can you hear Arwin talking about his chat?
Yeah.
Fine. So everything's working perfectly.
Great. That's fantastic. Oh,
That's what the pre-show's for. Iron out technical things, level up people, find out that I'm talking about how wonderful we are with sound, find out that one of the lines is assigned incorrectly. That sort of thing. But it just means that you don't start a live show, which is about now-ish, and go, oh, bloody hell, I've got no sound from...
we didn't know if you was ignoring us on purpose, so we're all shouting, "We've got proof of the globe." Just in case you was ignoring us, and that just meant to get you prick your ears up a little bit, but well, you definitely couldn't hear us.
Celestial navigation.
I don't know who's saying that, but you all garbled. Who was that? I don't know. We'll figure that out.
No, I was chiming in on what
Yes,
one deck was saying. We were in here saying space is real and celestial navigation sucks.
Okay, we got that. Probably best if I start the live show. And it takes an absolute eternity for the YouTube server to actually give me the live stream preview. So I'm just sat here waiting for it to say, yes, you can go live. You have connected. Technically my fault also chatting to you guys. I forgot to press the live button, but we will eventually go live. Yesterday it just took a minute or two for it to actually hook up. And now, the gallery.
Can I get a mic check?
You can get a mic check, but I just want to go live. And it's just, YouTube's really, really delayed.
I'll go live then.
I can't go live until it gives me a preview.
Well, then give me a mic check then.
I did just give you a mic check. We just sat here waiting for the YouTube software to catch up. Oh, there we go. Finally. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Chocolate Saiyan, who's joining right in the middle of the intro, Neil, Brian's Logic, Arwin, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Yo,
Hey,
let's get it on. Let's get
Hey,
it
good afternoon.
on.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, welcome one and all, good to have you all. Also, straight off the bat, I should say, there's a big amount of appreciation that's going to go out to a baller. Now, I did do a specific video shouting out Chocolate Sane's campaign, and a big shout out to everybody, obviously, who has supported that campaign. It's already up to $1,000. It's a drop in the ocean because chocolate's in a bigger hole than perhaps people realise. But it's really good that you've all done exactly as I've begged you to do, which is to say, the more number of supporters on that campaign, the better, even if it's only $5 or even $1. But if you can support that campaign, hopefully Divergent Droid, if he's in the chat, will stick a link to Chocolate Sane's campaign, and we will shout you out on this show. So we're going to do a sort of running shout out for all the people who have actually supported that campaign. But one particular individual who does get a regular mention on the show, which is Ruhif. Extra shout out to you, and big props and respect to you. I know Adam reached out to you and appealed to you, but the fact that you just immediately dipped in your pocket to a massive amount and supported Chocolate's campaign, much respect. Got to hand it out to the ballers when they deserve it, and in this instance, it's definitely much appreciated. The fact that you can sort of set aside your differences in regards to the subject matter and say, oh, right, somebody who is in the same community, which it is, it works both ways in that regard, and it's nice when it's positive when it does work both ways. So as much as I pour scorn on the fact that we're in the same pond as the anti-flat earthers, the other way to look at it is we are in the same pond as the anti-flat earthers. And in this example, Ruhif has set the standard. I'm not saying that other people should do as he does, for financial reasons more than anything else. They might not be able to. But the point is that he's gone above and beyond what I would expect from somebody who sits in opposition to us, when it simply comes to somebody's well-being and a financial hole that they found themselves in. Also, same goes for everyone else who's immediately within the first 24 hours just gone, yep, like chocolate, yep, want to help him. And they just have. So, there's been 20 odd people that have immediately in the first 24 hours just supported Chocolate's campaign. So as I say, I will be doing shout outs to the various people who have supported that campaign thus far. And so big shout out to Ruhif, and obviously a big shout out to all of the people who have supported their campaign up until now. I'm actually struggling to find it. Can someone stick a link to the campaign? Unless it's going by, yes it is, it's going by the live stream chat. It's okay. Divergent Droids are all over it. Go on.
Can I add to that?
Of course you can, Chocolate. It's your campaign.
I want to say to everybody that's helped me out, I appreciate it. I'm so grateful for this. I could rap a lot of words, but I don't have a lot of words right now because I'm so surprised and humbled by this, and I appreciate greatly everyone that's helped, whether you can help or not, even if you just mutter good luck chocolate under your breath. I mean, that's very helpful, and I appreciate it. And definite shout out to Rufy, because that's something that was definitely unexpected. And I have to give extra props just because that's a baller, and just putting down the topic and just saying, instead of baller and flat earther, it's a human helping another human being, and that's really humble to me. So thank you, man. I don't know if you're listening, but appreciate it, and appreciate every one of you guys. Beautiful. All you guys.
Shout out to Godzilla, who says, shout out to Chocolate. Also, if you're only on your second mortgage, get a third, help him out. Right, I'm going to do some shout outs.
You, God.
I'm going to do some shout outs to all the people who have actually supported the campaign so far. So there is quite a few of them. More than it will let me list for some reason. Let's see. Oh no, if I extend it down the page, it does. Let's just see if I can do it this way. See all. Show more. We will get there eventually, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you, we will shout out absolutely everybody in this campaign. Show more. Man, just give me a full list. Okay, here we go. So, big shout out of appreciation to Michael Kahn, James Mays, the anonymous contributor, Dave Scott, Michael, me, ignore that, Thomas Parker, Soundly's Banana Cam, Disco Guava, Cannabear, Thomas Long, Glenn Williamson, that's Ruhif, woo, Skeptic, which is presumably Skeptic 936, Timothy P. Southwick, Goldie, Anonymous donor number 2, Retro Bill, Anonymous donor number 3, which I believe is actually Paula, because she did actually specifically say it was from Paula, Dave Rudge, Also, shout out to you, my friend Del West Watson. Thank you very much indeed. Another anonymous contributor. That was the one. It said shout out from Level Up as the comment. And of course, Godzilla37, who just super chatted. So thank you to all of you who've supported the campaign. Now, if you do happen to support the campaign while we are live streaming, we will shout you out. So, as I say, there's going to be a link that's going by right now. And during the hour, if people do actually contribute right here, right now, we've got a shout out on the show. So hopefully there will be a few people that support that campaign. Anyway, anybody want to add any comment before we do move on? Because we can do a couple of housekeeping questions. Then I believe there is a follow-on video from yesterday. It might not be the same videographer, but certainly there is another video to be covering. Any comment?
Well, I would say that Glenn Ruiz, he actually has given the things in the past, so he is generous in the past too. He just wasn't as noticeable, so he is willing to help out. And I've noticed that from some of the borrowers in the past, they're willing to help out sometimes financially with people. So I mean, it's just nobody wants to be in a bad predicament, regardless of what the world is. So it is a human trait. So,
yeah, I mean, if we were in GTA, he would be getting respect points, right? And he has. He's gone up in my estimation. When someone like Adam, and kudos to Adam for reaching out to him, because you've got to basically go cap in hand to your enemy and go, we need help. And in this case, the enemy, if you want to call him that, Ruhif in this example, has gone, all right, fair enough. I understand. You go, wow, marvellous. That's a bit of a shock, like we're all saying. But it just does. It's got the best part of 10 minutes of the show mentioning this. So you can probably tell from our reaction that we're a little bit taken aback. But it's nice when those things happen, right?
Well, the thing about it is that we can't really know any of these people on the other side because we only know them as opposition. We don't know them as people. Now, with some of them, I could say, yeah, they're probably not much different, right, in real life. But a lot of them, when you do actually have a conversation with them that steps outside of this arena, you find out they're just like people. Let's just say, it's like everyone was surprised when they found out that Bob Townsend, who's Dr. Bob, was an advocate for the likes of cannabis being used medicinally. Stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Nobody expected that, from Bob, because he looks and came across so straight-laced. But he's an ex-military man, and he saw how this type of treatment would help people that he knew who had been.
I've got to stop you, Brian. From what I understand from that, right? Number one, he doesn't want that necessarily being made overtly public, and number two, that's probably why, because you've wrapped up probably why he doesn't want that to be overtly public, because of the impression you gave when you're like, oh, right, well, there was me thinking he was straight-laced. Well, he is. And why would anybody who has found medicinal benefits to anything, doesn't matter in this instance what the particular thing is, why would it make them any less straight-laced? Because there's a particular persona about somebody that's got an association with that particular drug. Therefore, that's probably why he doesn't want to be associated with it, because he doesn't want to be perceived as some sort of stoner when in his professional career he's punting a medicine that is abused, but for medicinal purposes. So I can understand why he wouldn't want to be associated with something that he has done in his past that could be used against him in a way that seems totally unreasonable for the end game of the purpose that he set about. Now, I only mention this because I saw this. Now, I wasn't at all surprised. I'm like, yeah, if the guy's punting stuff that's got benefits, why wouldn't you just punt it? Good for him. It didn't make me feel either way until I saw some of the comments, and I'm like, yeah, I understand now why you wouldn't want this being exposed. Not because there's any detriment to your career or your impressions that you would give to your average medical professional in the same field. None of those things. Just your average Joe dickhead is going to tar him with a certain brush because of the thing or the particular medicine that he's punting in that instance. And you think, yeah, I don't blame you. I've got a lot of empathy for you going, no, I don't really want that public. Yes, it's not because in any way I'm ashamed of what I've done or because I think it's to my detriment in my professional career. But there's tossers out there. That would be the only reason that I would think that he wouldn't want that particularly promoting. And I know he doesn't. I've seen him react to it.
I understand that, but the only reason I even brought it up was because it was already made public. So I'm not trying to...
I'm not trying to stop you.
I don't think he's a stoner or anything. I'm not saying he's that. He's talking about the medicinal side of it.
Sure. I'm not trying to stop you either. And don't get the wrong end of the stick. It's like when somebody puts across a globe argument and I vehemently argue against them and shut them down. Then they're like, well, I was only trying to put it... It's like, yeah, I want you to. I'm glad you are, because it's a good discussion point in regards to our opponents. In this regard, a different opponent that hasn't just given generously to somebody who's in need. Well, this is a different scenario, but it's a good discussion because it brings us back to Ruhif, right? Ruhif loaned, in my estimations, when he sat next to George Netanyahu, rest in peace, and basically said that he was for the idea of Brian being attacked in his career because of his opinions in regards, correctly, to how Coriolis effect would affect a turning Earth, right? And how we would experience that, and how we don't. Now, because of their misapprehensions of Globiolis effect, that's Ruhif, felt justified in saying, yeah, it's perfectly reasonable that the man's career is gone after. You're like, well, that lowers my estimations of you quite considerably. Now, in this case, he's redeemed himself a little bit by giving generously. And you go, okay. You can then almost rationalise his attitude towards Brian Mullen and go, okay, some people can just be dicks as opposed to being a dick. Some people just are dicks on certain days with certain topics because they're passionate about them. It doesn't make them assholes overall. And this is an example of that. Now, some people are. No offence, hate to speak ill of the dead, but George Netanyahu was an asshole. Just through and through. Yeah? Well, obviously, Ruhif isn't. He just has certain asshole traits that occasionally come to the forefront that lower people like me's estimation of him. Well, sometimes you can claw that back with $250.
Hey, Nathan, what amazes me is the amount of grief that we give him, and that's for him to be so generous. It's shocking, but thank you.
I try not to give Ruhif grief. He's taught me more about putting a flat plane into a globe than just about anybody.
Well, I mean, Nathan, how's that geometric horizon working out for you there, Rufy?
Oh, that won't stop. No.
But he's a good sport.
No. Don't get the wrong end of the stick. That is not going to stop. But occasionally with Ruhif, I'll pour personal scorn onto an example, which I'll be less inclined to do now. But as for how's that geometric horizon working out for you, Rufy? Now, that's not going to change. My argumentation form, which is that's part of the banter that I would assume he wants to come for. He doesn't want me calling him an asshole. He wants me to say, how's that geometric horizon working out for you? Because he's got a position in that regard. It's about the debate. So that's never going to change.
Well, look, I think what happened with Brian Mullen was he was the first, up to the point when Brian Mullen joined, there was nobody that was publicly, maybe Adam, right, and maybe one or two other people, but there was nobody out there publicly making videos who had credentials and was on our side. So Brian Mullen scared them a lot because, oh no, we have an actual engineer who's pointing things out here, and that was terrifying for George Netanyahu. I know the man is dead, but that was something that they couldn't have that, because at that time it was easier for them to tell the public that we were just a group of YouTubers who were confused. But an engineer is not going to be confused. And that was the problem. If Brian Mullen turned up today, there wouldn't be the same problem, because so many other people have come forward who are engineers and who are on our side. And other disciplines. So that's the problem. That he was the first person who was someone with education and of note that the public would pay attention to. And that they couldn't have that at the time. It was only late 2015, early 2016. And he was drawing so many people to him.
It was a dumb move. All they did was make a martyr out of him.
Correct.
Thing is, though, it shows you of humanity. People have fought and killed over, I'll use the word, beliefs and religions, and like Chocolate says, none of it should come down to that. We're all human. We're all on this plane, and we should all look out for each other, regardless.
Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. Oh Lord, kumbaya.
Kumbaya.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge that's a horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Thank God, because I was getting nauseous.
No, the horizon, even within the heliocentric model, is not physical and geometric. It is officially a refracted position that changes with the day. Basically, it changes from never being less than 7/6 of a radius to being greater than 7/6 of a radius. And within an hour, that could change. So it could be 8/6 now and 12/6 in an hour's time. So it's not physical, even within their own model. There is no hump for boats to sail over, because physical boats can't sail over refracted horizon.
The guy I picked my car up from yesterday said he spoke to various pilots, and they all say that they are flying level up and over curvature of the Earth, and they all account for it.
No, nobody accounts for the curvature of a globe when they're flying. Nobody does that.
So
rotation.
How do you have level flight with negative altitude?
You don't.
That's what I said to him. I said, "What if I'm level?" They fly level. They have to. Don't make any sense what you're saying.
It's actually just above level.
So I didn't want to get on it.
They angle slightly up. Better lift. But, they're definitely not arcing down into a void that's opening up ahead of them at 8 inches per mile squared. Definitely not. Anyway, I want to plug Brian's channel. The Ballers go to Brian's. If you want to know where the debate's taking place in terms of the dissemination of the accurate information that Ballers must brace against in some form or another, that's happening at Brian's. I love Brian's for the comments. His comment section's better than mine. Gotta be honest, mine's alright, but Brian, who's disseminating the information to us, like 10th Man or QE or anybody else when they're on fire, they get the most flack, like anyone when they're over the target, right, Brian? But you go check out Brian's comment section. It's riot. It's a right laugh. Because they're scrambling around all over the place. I go in there and just pot shot them. So the last video Brian made, I was in there going, shh, don't mention 90. It's just great. Because they give you 5 paragraphs. And in response, I read it and I go, yeah, got it. Don't mention 90. That's like a few words. And then a little chuckling wink or whatever. That's all I have to do. And then I can bugger off to the next comment. And I can do that 5 times in about 3 minutes. Them, on the other hand, they're writing paragraph after paragraph telling Brian how he's straw manning them and stuff. It's hilarious. It's great. I love your comment section, Brian. But the point is, you need to be subscribed to Brian's logic. That's where the real fury from the Ballers is being directed, because he's on fire at the moment. He's really good. Sorry to talk about you in third person, Brian.
No, thanks for shouting me out. I appreciate that. Everyone says it to me that I get the most amount of hate. Now, I think Flatside actually gets it worse. Now, I could be wrong, but I think Flatside actually gets it worse. But I do get a ridiculous amount of disgruntled ballers in my chat, and they can never address the issue. Most of them, if it's, let's say, some part of celestial navigation, most of them don't understand it because they've learned it from other ballers. So they're trying to say things like there's a tangent being sent from the eye line to the horizon. You know what I mean? This kind of stuff. Not understanding, no, it can't be a tangent because the horizon needs to be in a horizontal with the water underneath the boat for dip correction to work. So they think dip correction is a correction. A lot of them think, or did at least think some time ago, that dip correction, let's say, was a correction for how far below the eye, in degrees and minutes of degrees, whatever, that the horizon was, because they're trying to somehow add in the horizon and their refracted horizon, and how that is added into every dip correction. And I just point out very simply, no, dip correction is height of eye above the water, underneath the boat. It's a constant. Measure that port by a navigator on a new boat, right, in calm waters before they leave. And if they do 1,000 sightings after that, or 100 sightings after that, it's always the exact same correction. So they get a lot of stuff mixed up. They think because refraction is added in nowadays in the almanacs, in the more recent almanacs, to the dip, but only when it's below 20 degrees. They're not adding it in any big amounts above that. And the refraction that's added in is celestial refraction. So it's about how the stars appear to slow down once they go below 20 degrees, right? It's how it's rendered. It's like the star is basically heading into your horizontal, and that's why it's starting to slow down. I basically do think it's purely optical and not as in purely perspective and not refraction. But it doesn't matter because they just need to give it a constant, right, within the mathematics. But they don't. The ballers mix up things like they think that is their 7/6 or standard and greater than standard, which is terrestrial refraction, added in. Is like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with the globe and any refraction based on the globe. Because what that means, their refraction, their 7/6 and greater than 7/6 is a constant on their model, which means that their globe is not a circle, let's just say, from pole to pole. Their globe is an arc length of a circle, and it changes in its degree of arc depending on how much over 6R they need to add. And most of them have never known this. They think the line of sight has been bent down over a globe of 3959. No, a globe of at least 4618 radius and greater than 4618 radius is being flattened out. So your line of sight is a straight line of sight to an object that should be below their horizon. And even though the plane between, let's say, sea level between the observer and an object will always be horizontal, what they do is they make sure the line of sight is straight, and then they put a little curve in. They add their effective radius afterwards. So this is what they do. It's a lot of kind of little mathematical tricks, but it's only why they do all these things. Why do they do it? Because they have a belief that this is reality. So they can show themselves in an orthographic diagram how the observer is seeing something horizontally, let's say what they would call horizontally, which is going to be a dip angle, but underneath there's actually still a curve between that location and the observer. And so when you turn that back into a 3959 ball, it looks like, if you would show this orthographically, as Rumpus and many others did, they show this big curved line of sight going over a globe, the curve of a globe out, a geometric horizon, to a location. So it's akin to me saying I'm looking towards the corner in my kitchen, but now I'm also seeing out around that curve to something that I obviously can't see, as opposed to that all straightening out so I can see it. Because you can only see in a straight line. If you're looking forward, you see in a straight line. You'll never see, if you're not seeing a curved line over something, that doesn't happen. So most of them just don't understand their own refraction claims. And they mix that up with celestial refraction and real refraction outside of that, like inferior, superior mirage, sinking, stooping, towering. I'm not going to say looming, that doesn't exist. So they mix up. It's the bait and switch, but the bait and switch they do to themselves in their own head. Go on, John.
I was just going to say those four types of refraction that you mentioned can only be demonstrated on a flat plane, and all of their geometric and refracted horizons exist below surface level. Like, it's delusional.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I point out with some of my videos, and more recent ones as well. I pointed out several times about how they could never get a correct, let's just say, a correct latitude from their eye line to the horizon if the horizon is refracted off of a globe to Polaris. But it never worked because you're dealing with an horizon that's going to be based off of a bigger globe. So the latitude and longitude grid is not going to fit that for a start. And secondly, you can't do dip correction because what you're looking at has to be below the water in elevation, below the elevation of the water underneath your boat. So your depression angle is going to involve a core that's all going to be sideways. You know what I mean? Because they don't understand that you can't use a refractor, even on the globe. Like if you have to have a geometric horizon of the globe. You have to be able to see the globe's geometric horizon to even get close to getting your latitude. And you'll never actually get it correctly because you can't do dip correction. Because your horizon is below the elevation of the water underneath your boat. So, John, just so people understand, what John is talking about is all their maths. When he says all our maths are below surface level, that's the point. They're all below horizontal. None of them deal with horizontal because they can't, because they're on a globe. So none of it works in reality. But it will work orthographically, mathematically.
Below surface level, mathematically.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we've pondered just the one housekeeping question for today, I think. So we're going to move on to the video that was suggested by 10th Man yesterday, but we just didn't get to it, which is, wow, this is a big YouTuber. So this is What If YouTube channel. And as I would hope they would do for me if they were to ever respond to what we're about to cover, I have no idea what that is, I'll read the title in a second. I would hope they'd share my link, like I'm doing with you right now. So if you can just let this YouTuber know, Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I think there might actually be a particular way to do this now in YouTube, which is to say that if you want to say somebody's talking about you on YouTube, like with Twitter, you do it by saying at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And that will actually algorithmically tie me, or this channel, or this show, depending on whether or not it gets a mention by title, or what you say, to this video. So I think that's how it works now. So at NATHAN OAKLEY 1980 sent me in a comment, and as you can see, it's going by in the chat now, and I'd hope he would return the favour, because we're not getting any algorithmic support from YouTube, let's face it. That's the only way I'll ever grow, is if these people ever respond to the criticisms we have had with their comments and assertions. But we'll see. Hopefully someone one day will return the favour and put my link in their video, as we do with theirs. But please let him know that we've sent you. Okay, got no sound from it. I should have checked this before the show. Right, a couple of buttons.
Flat Earth.
Wow, that's loud. Okay, let's just lower that down a little bit. Slick, very slick.
I know. We've talked about it before, but there's something mesmerizing about it. A flat Earth solar eclipse? Diagonally growing trees? The Great Wall of Ice, guarded by NASA, of course. The flat earthers sure have...
Yes, go ahead.
Just very quickly, because he brought up solar eclipse. Yeah, the solar eclipse that he's talking about would be a globe Earth getting in the way. Their moon, what they're calling the new moon, getting in the way of the sun. So their moon moves in position, so it blocks out the sun from our point of view, if we're in the right part of a globe at that time, right? There is absolutely no evidence whatsoever in history anywhere put forth by anyone that such a thing as a new moon exists. And when I looked and tested to see what was with filters in 3 different types of software, what was actually going in front of the sun, it did not look, no matter what I did, the same pattern came out on it, and no matter what I did, it did not match the moon in any way, shape, or form. It didn't look like the moon whatsoever. So I don't know what's going in front of the sun. I'm not claiming it's not the moon, but all I'm saying is I can find 0 evidence that it is the moon. Now, that's something that would shock the hell out of a lot of people, and they should investigate it more if you're on the ball side. Can you prove that's the moon? And don't just pre-assume it's the new moon, because there's something that you can't prove the existence of. The new moon is what? Something you can't see for 2 days? No. So no.
Quick shout
There's
out.
no evidence that it is the moon.
Quick shout out. Well, what's the moon? There isn't anything to see. It's just supposed to be there in their orbital mechanics, but isn't. Anyway, shout out to Sensual Goat, who says, big thanks to 10th Man providing all the videos. The Johnny Harris episodes were hilarious. I agree, I really enjoyed watching those back, if I do say so myself. Sensual Goat, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
Have a great imagination, but what if they were right? How would the Earth hold up in space?
What? So what if they were right about a flat Earth? Let's immediately impose my heliocentric orbital motion onto a pizza pie so that the flat Earth pizza pie rises up at 9.8 meters per second in a sky vacuum. How would the Earth hold up in space? Why would we ask this question when space isn't real? Now, I assume he's talking about outer space, the sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 torr. That would be a much lower pressure than the gas we experience at high pressure. Now, based on entropic law, gas dispersion would take place and we would all be dead. So I'm not too concerned with how flat Earth holds up in space. It's about as interesting to me as how flat Earth would hold up in Narnia. Who cares? Narnia's not real. Who cares? Outer space isn't real. But we're going to question how it would work within your heliocentric paradigm. How absurd.
This is the... I was listening yesterday, even afternoon, guys. This seems to be the main problem with these guys, isn't it? Is their ability and desire to conceptualize this thing in the same heliocentric way of things. They can't seem to step outside of their own rigid system. The only way in which a flat Earth can exist is as a hurtling pizza pie. All of them don't seem to grasp just the gas pressure without a container, the implications of what's being laid in front of them. It's not just the shape, it's your whole worldview.
Also, advanced heliocentrists like Einstein, relativist theory, has a flat Earth rising up through space. So, is he making fun of Einstein?
I know, but there's a solid 109 people watching, which is great. Obviously, share the show first and foremost. But we've got a chocolate saying campaign going. And literally nobody has supported it while I've been running this show. So I was hoping to do a few shout outs to people. But yeah, it'd be great to get the numbers of supporters up. So obviously, I'm not suggesting that you give as generously as Ruhif did. But by the same token, if you can bung a $5 to Chocolate Saying's campaign while the show's going, we can give you a shout out and obviously show the love that is in abundance for Chocolate Saying. So please share the campaign link. If you're one of the moderators in the show, please bosh it out there. So hopefully someone will click on it of the 100 people. If just a few % of that do that, that would help the campaign along nicely. Given that we are the second to this particular campaign and both, I don't know if, did Flatsoid do something on it yesterday? I know Arwin and Quantum Eraser did.
There was no Flatsoid yesterday. He's come back to me, so I'm going to use the video. I think he's going to play it. And he'll do a little push as well. But I'm going to have a chat with him tonight. You asked me about the video that we've done before.
I've already done it. Don't worry about that. So yeah, I put out a couple of videos which are just updates, and one of them was a rap from 2020 that Chocolate did, along with obviously links to the campaign. But this is where I want to push it because we're live right now. So I can literally appeal to you and guilt you into giving him a $5 to up the numbers of people in the support numbers. I think there's like 22 people or something so far. Anyway, hopefully I'll get to
I got one more
out
on that, just to, because I am trying to push it, and I was saying yesterday, people can share with whatever method you've got. I've just sent the file to Mark Sargent. He's going to upload the music file and play it on his channel as part of the thing, so that should go up later on today as well. So hopefully spread the word a bit more.
That's a good point. Hopefully, if nothing else, there is on this particular campaign site a really easy means to actually share it. So you can probably see it at the top there. It just immediately gives you the option to share it. And I appreciate that not everyone's got even $5 to bung Chocolate, but by the same token, you have got a share button there, and it costs nothing. So that use the facility that they've given you in this format, because they have appreciated, at least Give, Send, Go have appreciated that sharing it does have a massive impact on how well it'll do. And obviously, if you get there and see that lots of people are supportive of the campaign, which is why I want you to basically bung him $5 if nothing else while we're live, it just shows there's more numbers that are actually supporting the campaign. If he doesn't necessarily get to $1 bazillion. But anyway, right, we'll come back to that. In the meantime, we'll carry on with this video. So, as before, please let What If channel know Nathan Oakley 1980 or at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and hopefully he'll return the favour should he ever respond like any of the others that we do these response videos to would hope we would achieve from them. In other words, hopefully they would share my link if they were to respond to any of the things we criticise here, like how Earth would hold up in space given it's a second law of thermodynamics violation.
Would it revolve around the sun, or would the sun rotate around it?
So, how can I superimpose a false dichotomy about begging the question orbits into the flat Earth realisation? Wow. Is there anything else about heliocentrism that you want to sandwich into this new discovery that you're going to inquire about?
And why would you never walk to the Earth's edge?
Yeah, so that's a feast of nonsense projection from this massive YouTuber called What If. Because you, as a globe believer, have an edge. Your edge is the horizon that boats are claimed to fall over. Your edge is claimed to block the bottoms of boats and buildings. So you have an edge. Now, when you reify some flat earth pizza pie in a sky vacuum, that may have an edge in your diagram, but nobody's claiming that. You are the ones claiming an edge. Go on, whoever's chattering over the top of me.
Sorry, I'll try and jump in. Sorry.
It's all right.
I do.
Oh, you want to go first, John?
Yeah, it just bothers me that this guy is, he's strawmanning us with the points he should be defending. You know, Einsteinian mechanics with the Earth, the equatorial plane rising up at 9.8 meters per second squared, or an edge to the Earth. These are points he should be defending, not ascribing to us and attacking.
It sounds like the reason I was into was he's not going to do that. Is he not going to impose an infinite plane on us there with that question?
Maybe. We'll have to find out, I guess.
So I read that.
Perhaps, but John's sentiment overall is correct. What they do is reverse the burden with their weakest points. So they've got a globe edge with boats falling over it. Quick, ask the flat earther about the edge of the pizza pie in a sky vacuum. That's how they work. They take their weakest, crappiest arguments and ask us to defend them.
Well, something else is going on here, and it's down to them not understanding their own model. Is the Charles Vernon Boy's 9.81 meters per second square equation or calculation? That is not based in reality. That is pre-assuming a vacuum and all objects falling at that calculated rate in a vacuum. Now, we don't live in a vacuum, so even within their own heliocentrism, it's not claimed that all objects in reality fall at that rate. That's a calculated rate that's claimed. It's a claimed rate that all things fall at in a vacuum. But it's only a calculation. They didn't test any of this, that all things fall at that exact rate in a vacuum. So them trying to strawman us with that is not just a load of nonsense because it's connected to them and their model, but it's also them not understanding the 9.81 meters per second square. They're not understanding it's not based in reality. It's based in the pre-assumption of the vacuum. So a lot of what we deal with comes back to them not understanding their own claims and their own model.
This is What If, and here's what would happen if the Earth was flat.
Why is it being posed as a question? What would happen if? No, what would happen if you reified your orbital motions and sky vacuum into a pizza pie version of a flat Earth rising up through space? That's what you're actually asking. Because the Earth is flat. It's measurably flat. It's navigated flat. The grid system that made the globe is flat.
I hold on.
Go ahead.
I agree with John. Why is this guy talking about this and not bringing forth proof of its ball Earth?
Because he's asking the question of what if Earth was flat, Neil.
Well, the thing is, right, if he wants to assert the sky's a vacuum, why is he not bringing proof of gas pressure without a container? If he wants to prove the horizon's physical, I don't know how you would do that. That's obviously ridiculous. But, you know, I don't get the putting the crap on us like that when it's the points he should be defending.
Yeah, it's a reversal of the burden of proof. He's got a claim of a sky vacuum, so he puts the pizza pie in a sky vacuum. He's got a claim of an edge, so he asked us how the flat Earth would work with its edge.
In case you missed the news on the Flat Earth channel, here's a quick recap.
This won't be our claims. This will be Feast of Nonsense. You watch.
For thousands of years, the general public thought that the Earth was flat, and...
How the hell do you know what the general public thought for thousands of years? Have you surveyed them? Where's the statistical data to show that? Now, obviously, this is in positive assertion for us, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the standard is. It doesn't matter what you're pro or con when you're putting down this crap. We need to see it. We need it backed with evidence if you're going to make that assertion. Now, if you're going to say we make that assertion and we go, oh, that's quite a good assertion, I'll take that on. I don't do that. If I'm going to assert that thousands of years ago people thought the Earth was flat, I need to see something to actually show that.
That's contradictory to one of the previous videos we've just done with the other guy pulling up his pictures where he was stating quite categorically the opposite. It was only recently we started to rethink that the Earth was flat, and that for thousands of years, with his woodcut from the 17th century, demonstrating that all the way back to ancient Greece, they thought it was a ball. But this guy's now saying the opposite. It's part of the Enlightenment that we realise it's a ball, is it?
But,
contradictory historical timelines from the two ballers is...
Adam's referring to Johnny Harris, which got a super chat in regards to how hilarious it was pulling apart his assertions. But correct, what we're getting is a contrasting view to Johnny Harris, who says that for thousands of years we've known it was a ball. And it's only recently, since Rowbotham and Mark Sargent, that we've all realised it's flat. But we're all delusional and not trusting the consensus of thousands of years of scientific understanding that Earth was round, as in a ball. Now we're hearing thousands of years they thought Earth was flat. All right, okay.
Well, that isn't his claim. He's claiming that we claim for thousands of years they thought Earth was flat.
Oh, of course. So it's where he would say, we've known for thousands of years it's a ball. He's now projecting that in reversal of burden onto us to justify as though we've stated for thousands of years people were saying it's flat, when they probably didn't give a second thought for thousands of years until they were told it was a bloody ball.
That must be a new thing, because my son said the same thing the other day. He said, 1,000 years ago, they thought the Earth was flat.
Well, maybe they did, and that's why the ballers have to come up with 2,000 years ago in ancient Greece nonsense. But I have seen zero evidence. I know it's not a point most people stick on. They just kind of leave these things go, but I can't leave these things go. I've looked into it. There many years ago, there was no evidence that the Greeks claimed the Earth was a globe. Nothing. I have seen not one thing in 8 years. So that's not true.
Everything revolved around it. Then, Nicolaus Copernicus came around with his spanking new theory.
So theories would be based in this context on validated experiments based on a hypothesis after observing a phenomena you want to know the cause of. This is not a theory. Right? Nicolaus Copernicus hasn't come up with the theory of globe Earth because it isn't a theory.
The theory said that the Earth wasn't flat.
Not a theory.
And definitely not the center of anything. His observations led him to believe that our planet is orbiting the sun.
That wasn't down to observation, that was down to calculation.
But here we are, 500 years later, and some people around the globe are convinced that the Earth is flat. Well, how would this even work?
Let's see if he actually... Well, let's just see if he actually, A, proves his sphere claim, which is the positive assertion, as John's pointed out, or B, well, puts us to task in terms of proving the Earth's flat in terms of the actual terminology, in Earth being a plane, the ground you're standing on, and the aspect thereof. Let's see if he actually addresses that.
Well, I just want to point out something very quickly before you go. I don't want to take up too much time.
No, go ahead.
He said thousands of people around the globe are claiming it's flat. Why did he have to say globe? Why can he not say thousands of people today are claiming it's flat? Why, when you hear the globe added in, whether it be on television or in these scenarios, that's fear. They have to add it in because that's them telling themselves it is a globe. It is a globe. It is a globe. Because they can't prove that it is.
Yeah, they've been indoctrinated to have the automatic assumption that it is a sphere, so in every description it's going to be automatically assumed to be so. Therefore, when it comes to them begging the question, well, of course, like I was saying, you flat earthers around the globe.
Yeah.
Form in a spherical shape. One word, gravity.
Form a spherical shape because of the uneven distribution of mass bending space-time, as opposed to mass attracting mass? No, I'm going to say no. See, fourth dimensional space-time isn't real, and gravity isn't a force.
I wonder if he realises that there's 5 different gravities.
Probably not. This is a very mainstream channel. This is going to be the lowest standard there is. Preferred content, people. Please let him know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So that hopefully he'll return the favour and put a link to my video so we get some support from opponents. That's the only way we get support, by the way, from our opponents. Not from YouTube.
Is what's pulling matter together equally...
Pulling? What, like a force? Already ballsed it up. Give him 7.18 million subscribers. Yeah, what do you mean, pulling? Gravity's not a force, it can't pull anything. Yeah, bending fourth dimensional conceptual space-time isn't a force and doesn't pull. Were you unaware? It's only been 108 years.
From every side.
Why is he talking about what happens hundreds of years ago and he doesn't even appreciate that gravity's not going to be pulling anything because it's not a force when that was outdated 108 years ago? Yeah, you're not even up to date with your own bloody rhetoric. You're 100 years out of date.
And as a result...
Ed?
I was going to say, it's not like he can give the actual rhetoric now because he's made fun of the pizza pie in a sky vacuum, which is Einsteinian's, concept of the Earth rising up. So he's not going to be able to do that. So he's kind of in a tricky position.
It's necessary for his model, unfortunately, because at the beginning he makes the assertion that the planetas, the wandering stars, the wandering lights, are spheres of solid rocks, aren't they? Solid matter. That's what he's claiming. So he's got to have a causation for that. As nonsensical as what he postulates, i.e. gravity. But it's necessary because he's made that first assertion that those lights in the sky that have their own patterns to them are what he's now defined as a planet, which is what we're on also. It's the same as us, but different. And something needs to help form them into spheres.
Matter forms into a sphere. Of course, this wouldn't be the case for a flat Earth.
So, based on your heliocentric understanding of a non-force force that you think of as a force, this wouldn't form a heliocentric flat Earth pizza pie? Wowee. How does that in any way address flat, an aspect, Earth, the ground we're standing on? It can't. You can only comprehend how it wouldn't work in your heliocentric orbital motions. Wow. Pathetic.
Anti-round earthers think...
Oh, wow. There's a familiar term. Where's this come from? 2 years ago, right around the time that we started calling people anti-flat earthers. Wow. Shocking.
That there's no such thing as gravity.
There isn't. The bending of a fourth dimensional space-time? Show me time. Now show me it bending. It's like, you can't. Yeah, that's right, because there's no such thing as gravity. It's not a force. You can think of it as a force, but it isn't one. Yeah, there is no fourth dimensional pseudo time bending. You'll never show it me. It'll never be a physical dimension. Beyond the mathematics of Einstein, there is no gravity.
We only feel like there is because some mysterious force is accelerating the pancake-shaped Earth upwards.
What? So, in your heliocentric motion, you've got the pancake Earth flying upwards. Who's making this claim? Are you going to specifically ascribe this to Einstein for your gravity that's not working on a pizza pie in a sky vacuum? This is pathetic. So you've retained 98% of your heliocentric belief and then just put a flat Earth into it and told us how it doesn't work. Wow.
I don't
may I suggest?
Go ahead, John, first.
I was just going to suggest that instead of him addressing us as anti-ball or anti-circle Earth or whatever he wants to call us, he should know that we're advanced heliocentric experts, and we understand how his model was created, and we can do the same things with any flat plane. So just maybe to relax his mind so he doesn't, if he decides to respond, he knows.
Tell you that you can't increase the speed for.
Oh, go ahead, QE.
No, that was Brian.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I don't think he realizes that the upward moving out, even though it's been said already today, the upward moving out is directly from Einstein. That was his eureka moment when he saw a man fall off a roof while working on a roof. That was he called it the happiest moment in his life, supposedly, because it made him think about it from a philosophical point of view, as from the man's point of view who's falling, he doesn't know if he's going down or if the earth is coming up. And that's all part of his relativity. That is where his general relativity basically spawned from. That's what that was the eureka moment after his special relativity. That was it. So just so the guy, if he responds to this, so he understands that claim is not a flat earth claim. That is something that started with Albert Einstein, who gave you general relativity, which is the mainstay in your model at present.
Right, I'm going to do a few quick shout-outs for those of you who supported the campaign that's currently running for Chocolate Sane's financial hole that he's found himself in. So, quick shout-out to Blue Ridge Ranger. Really appreciate the support. Thank you very much indeed. Also, shout-out to Inigo, don't know how to say that, but thank you very much indeed for supporting the campaign. Really appreciate it. Also, JMels24, thank you very much indeed. And Blue Pill. So, really appreciate all of your support. Hopefully, we'll do a few more shout-outs before the show is over. Got 135 people watching, so there might be a bit of an extended show. We'll see. If we retain those numbers, please share the show.
Forever. At some point, you'd be going too fast. Ugh. Does anybody...
What? In his globe model, he's got us moving at 66,000 miles an hour through the solar system. But yet, when it's ascribed to a flat Earth, it's suddenly too fast. What the hell? And like I said earlier, it's purely the weakest aspects of their claims, which is the horrendously, ludicrously fast speeds that Earth's claim to be travelling. I mean, it's millions of miles an hour around the Great Attractor. The entire solar system's moving up, by the way. But what suddenly, if it's a flat Earth, it's too fast? What? What the hell is this guy on? Again, mere projection of the weakest aspects of his own claim being projected onto us and our model that we don't claim. Pathetic.
Well, I feel like as Brian kind of highlighted, the straw man he's building there is the Einsteinian relativity thing, where there is the ultimate claim that you're constantly accelerating at 9.8. So there is the point that, remember, he's criticizing Einstein and, in this case, the Flat Earth Society hijacking of Einsteinian relativity to create a force of gravity. Because the Flat Earth Society still want to do that, which is why they had that nonsense of it accelerating like that, which is ultimately going to be faster than the Great Attractor speeds in a very short amount of time. It is such a farcical claim, but remember, the farce is born out of relativity, and the Flat Earth Society trying to hijack Einsteinian stuff to explain why down is down and why, do you know what I mean? And why density and buoyancy work. That's what's the Flat Earth Society hijacked from Einstein, and that's what he's criticizing. He's not criticizing any flat earther here.
No?
Yeah, and within that claim, the Earth is flying up the way at 9.81 meters per second squared, not around something, not at an angular rate around something, up. So if it's going up, and everything else has to be also going up, everything else in the sky has to be also going up at the same rate. because it's not going, and it's not because it's not going around something. He doesn't. He has his own globe claims mixed up, and he's mixing them up with non-correct flat Earth claims.
If you want some real science, then
Pound says he won't give a systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis in the next 10 seconds.
yes, there would be gravity on a flat Earth.
We ask daily on this show. We don't at the moment because of doing video coverage, but we do regularly ask for any scientific evidence from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics, and any scientific evidence specifically for gravity. The reason we ask for scientific evidence of gravity, because like this channel, What If, claims with the intonation being on the idea that science backs this notion of a non-force called gravity bending 4D space-time, would apply to a flat Earth because of science. No, there is no systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis after observing any natural phenomena because there isn't one for gravity. There's no natural phenomena to observe, as I suggested earlier. Show me time as a phenomena that needs to be put through the scientific method. Now show me you bending it as a researcher that can manipulate that which you assume causes the effect of bending space-time, when it's already described in the maths of Einstein as the uneven distribution of maths as the cause. So no, there is no science for gravity, and it wouldn't be applicable to a flat Earth. You're bending space-time. Total nonsense. Guy doesn't understand his own rhetoric.
And it would be weird. The center of gravity on a flat Earth?
Why are we talking about how gravity works? Yeah, this nonsense of bending 4D space-time isn't going to be detailed here when he strawmans us with how it would work when we don't claim it as even existing. He's already claimed that. He's already explained that flat earthers don't think it's real, but now he's telling us how it wouldn't work on a flat Earth because science says it's real. What a bloody farce.
Would be right here, in the middle.
He's making a big mistake there. Gravity as a force of gravity, attraction to a center point, that is purely a global claim. It can't be attributed to anything but a sphere, because only a sphere will have a central point, equidistant from its surface. So he doesn't understand that. We're not hearing that, Nathan.
There's no sound.
Sorry, I was distracted by a child for a second.
Everything on Earth and around would be pulled to this point.
Pulled? So that would imply that gravity's a force. 108 years out of date, this clown. 108 years out of date with his assertion that gravity pulls things. No. Mass doesn't attract mass. Gravity isn't a force. Quote, George Musa. Gravity is not a force. End quote. George Musa, 2019. Scientific American editor. What about Professor Brian Cox? Quote, there isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote. Professor Brian Cox. So what is it that gives you this notion of it pulling? Are you just an idiot? What if? Just poorly researched. Promote him. YouTube. Stick him. Preferred content. Give him 7.18 million subscribers. Give his views to 3.3 million. Yeah, over the space of 2 years. Absolutely. When he talks total nonsense that's hundreds of years out of date. Yep, that's what you get on YouTube. Where were we in the lists? Telling you about how science is the establishment of cause and effect reasoning through a hypothesis to be actualized in an experiment. Where are we? We're censored. Yeah? Where are we when we're talking about elevation angle measurements measured off a flat plane to give you the grid system that gave you the globe? We get censored. This guy, 7.5 million views.
And the further you got away from the center, the stronger this pull would be.
What, when it's not a force? So the force that's not a force is getting stronger? Absurd. Just idiotic. On another level of stupidity. Your professors of the current age, that's within, well, it's actually more than 100 years, explaining to you how it's not a force. Why are you promoting this, YouTube? Why are you putting this, why are you offering this to anybody when it's so unbelievably wrong and out of date? Do you promote this as preferred content? Does he get a tramp stamp? Oh no, he doesn't seem to get a tramp stamp. Why is that? When he's completely wrong in everything he says. Should you not explain that gravity is an archaic, 108-year out-of-date force as a tramp stamp under him? No. Preferred content. Right? Yeah. In the vain hope that one of these idiots will actually respond to us, please let him know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully he'll put a link when he responds and tells me how the non-force force that Brian Cox made explicitly clear isn't really a force at all. Wouldn't be pulling him or getting stronger on a flat plane, straw man.
At some point, it would begin to pull you downward, so you...
Yeah, it's not going to do that, mate. It's not a force.
You would have to start climbing.
No, you wouldn't. It's not a force.
This would be the reason why you couldn't walk to the edge of a flat Earth.
Really? Meanwhile, you've got an edge that boats fall over that we debunked in 2020. Round about the time that you were making this video 2 years ago. In fact, after... You've made this after we debunked the physical geometric sphere edge at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, because every distance measurement to it could be no more than that, as per your globe earth mathematics that assert you've got an edge for boats to fall over. So why are you telling us about how you wouldn't reach the edge of a pizza pie in a sky vacuum?
It's because he's assuming Newtonian mass-attracting mass gravity on a flat pizza pie in space. And then, then that disk... You don't just stand on it. No, you're attracted to its center. So if you go further outward to the pizza pie with the gravity pulling everything toward its center, the more it's going to seem like you're actually climbing a mountainside. That's his point. It's so out of proportion, straw-manish, it's ridiculous.
That just makes him seem dumb. That's why I'm so objectionable to the fact that it's got so many views. It's like, why? Do the platform that I'm part of not value credible information? Because this is preferred content.
But
Gravity.
What?
It's starved of detail, sensationalism. That's what it is.
Be so strong around there that it would be impossible for you to make it. You might never see the gorgeous 45-meter tall wall of ice called Antarctica.
So I told you, called it Feast of Nonsense Garbage. What wall? Antarctica? So because this Feast of Nonsense Garbage from the Flat Earth Society is reified by flat earthers who've got here and gobbled up all the propaganda, that suddenly means that we're not going to make it if a non-force force that you can think of as a force but isn't going to be pulling anybody stronger and stronger as they walk to an edge that you've got at your horizon and we don't claim. Yeah, this is absurd.
Guardrailing the Earth's edge.
Really? Well, according to the Feast of Nonsense propaganda.
And you'd never learn what's on the flip side.
Flip side to a ground that we would measure flat. Why would we be flipping it? Of course, it's flipping around and spinning in a heliocentric orbital motion while simultaneously going up at 9.8 meters per second as per Einstein's fourth-dimensional pseudo-Riemannian force space-time bending. Of course. Why is it that we know all of the aspects of this crap that this guy's putting out there and can pull them apart based on their fundamental inconsistencies with the current rhetoric and that versus the 108-year out-of-date rhetoric of a force that would pull you stronger when superimposed onto a flat Earth? Why is it that I can so concisely summarise the total nonsense and yet we are suppressed to the bottom of the lists while this guy gets millions of views? Why is that?
But at least you wouldn't fall off of it.
What, like you fall off the edge of your horizon-based sphere Earth edge at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet in physical geometric terms because it's a hill that boats fall over? At least you wouldn't fall over that. Yeah, we debunked that in 2020. The positive claim that you should be defending rather than strawmanning us with this garbage. You should be defending the fact that we've debunked your sphere edge for boats to fall over for you to prove that you're on a sphere with your edge. Yeah?
There would be other side effects of this funny gravity.
Funny gravity? I don't find anything amusing about a fourth dimensional pseudo-Harmonian's force space-time bending when it's not a force and has no effect on anything. It's claimed to be an effect. The cause in the mathematics being the uneven distribution of mass bending time. Do you want to show me that? Can you show it me? Show me that time, then show me it bending as a result of mass and its uneven distributed nature. Can you show me that, clown shoes? No, you can't, because it only exists in the maths. That's why it's got a title. Pseudo-Harmonian force space. Pseudo meaning fake, sham, not real. That's Einstein's title for this geometry. Pseudo force space-time. Yeah? You think that's having a effect on things, do you now? Utterly absurd. Especially absurd when you superimpose it onto a flat Earth with a misapprehension of orbital motion when utilising a gravity that's current derived by Einstein, as though the Flat Earth Society feast of nonsense garbage is capable of being debunked when it's actually the current rhetoric of gravity you're debunking, you clown.
Objects closer to the edge of the Earth would fall sideways instead of down.
Why? Non-forces don't do anything. You're an idiot.
Gravity would also make trees grow diagonally on most...
Why would a non-force force that you're thinking of as a force when it's not a force make trees do anything on a flat Earth? They wouldn't. Meanwhile, you think that zero, that's zero gravity, is as you fall. That's what you think. You think that when you're at rest, you're accelerating. It's utterly absurd, but that's what you think if you comport to Einstein.
Most of the pancake-like Earth, because they'd be reaching against the pull of gravity.
The non-force of gravity? They'd be reaching against it as it pulls? How does it do that? Maybe you could show me time bending and then it pulling me. Can you show me? No, you can't. In the pseudo-geometry of Einstein, it's the uneven distribution of mass bending a geodesic in space-time. Not something capable of being visualised in a fourth dimension, let alone shown in physical reality.
All the rain, snow, and hail would fall toward the Arctic at the center of the Earth.
Right, here we go. Centre of Earth is again part of his superimposition of a fourth dimensional sphere Earth with an R value that's got a centre. So that's just being put on top of us like we need to justify it in the burden of proof reversal fallacy that this entire video has been based on.
Precipitation would converge and start to build up. The oceans would get sucked to the center of the disk too, and form one big ocean in the middle.
They're saying the oceans would be sucked to the centre of the disk, and one of the vague, crappy references that we occasionally get put in front of us is that level is actually water conforming to the centre of a sphere by moving towards the centre of it with gravity. Again, not comporting with a fourth dimensional pseudo-Harmonian force space-time bending, but we get told that water's pulled to the centre of a sphere Earth. That's what we get told by anti-flat earthers. Now, this guy's rebuttal is to say, hell, man, if you had a flat Earth, it'd all be pulled to the centre. It's like, is he so stupid that he doesn't realise that we could literally trim out his words and play them back to anti-flat earthers when they defy what level is? I mean, it begs belief. Give him 3.5 million views.
A big concern would be the air pressure on a flat Earth.
Oh, here we go. This is going to be brilliant. Air pressure? What, like the force it exerts on the walls of its containment? Would be a problem on a flat Earth. Now, I don't see how that's got anything to do with the ground that we stand upon and its flat aspect. But we're going to be talking about how air at pressure, that's the force it exerts on the walls of its containment, would be a problem for a flat Earth. Definitely projection.
Gravity would draw too much air toward the Earth's center.
Oh, would it now? So gravity, a non-force, makes gas go to the center of things. So you think that on a sphere Earth with your pseudo-force space-time bending in a geodesic, that makes gas go down on a sphere Earth? because we're not claiming it. It's you taking every crap aspect of a globe claim, putting it on a flat earth and saying how it wouldn't work. Now, did you not realise that if you just take the exact same claim, which is actually yours, with edges and gas pressure not working in the model, and just put your model in place, your claims would also hold true? That is to say, how absurd it is to have an edge for boats to fall over, or how absurd it is to have gas pressure forming and going down or moving to the centre if you're strawmanning us with a flat earth claim. No, gas doesn't go down with gravity. Gas expands in all directions. Doesn't matter which model you put it in, sphere earth or otherwise, entropy is a law of nature. But we can hear the cries of the anti-flat earthers in the distance. Nathan, the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth as a sphere model. And that's how it boils down. Your model of a sphere Earth doesn't comport with the second law of thermodynamics. It simply cannot apply because all the gas would fill the sky vacuum. But yet you're going to accuse us of having gas problems, gas pressure problems on a flat plane, but because of gravity. Oh, yeah, because obviously with Earth being a sphere, that problem of gas going down, go boom, boom, like bouncy balls, and the puddles of methane that we experience, and the puddles of oxygen we experience, they're all resolved by a sphere Earth. Yeah, we don't have that problem with puddles, regardless of which model you assert it on. Meanwhile, gas needs to press on the walls of a container in order to achieve gas pressure, and your sphere Earth in a sky vacuum, or strawman pizza pie in a sky vacuum, don't maintain pressure. There's no containment in either. Not that we're claiming the flat earth version for you to feel like you've done well by stamping on how gas pressure doesn't work.
Leaving the areas around the edge with...
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, he's doing the same thing as all these people do. Like Dave McKeegan, he's just Dave McKeegan with more subscribers. You know, and Simon Dan with more subscribers. They pre-assume gravity is a proven scientific hypothesis and that this is a real thing that we all know about. He's pre-assuming that gravity is a force of attraction between masses. That means that what he's actually saying is there's a force of attraction between calculations. That's all mass is. It's more. It's a calculation of an amount. So a calculation is an attracting a calculation is what he's actually saying. And it's creating a gas pressure gradient where most of the gas is at ground level because it's all being pulled downward more than any other direction. Objects weigh more in a vacuum in reality because when there is air, it gives a lifting buoyant effect, which means that you weigh less on a weighing scales standing in air than you would if you could weigh yourself in a vacuum.
A couple of quick shout outs.
And the same for...
Sorry, Brian. A couple of quick shout outs. One to Blue Pill for supporting Chocolate Sayings GoFundMe campaign. Oh, not GoFundMe. Give, Send, Go campaign. And also a shout out to Mike. Really appreciate the support, guys. Thank you very much. If you did want to support the campaign, I just want to run through this with the people who are on the live stream now. So if you did want to support the campaign, click on the Give button. Enter the amount that you actually want to support the campaign with, so, I don't know, $25 for the sake of argument. And it'll automatically ascribe an extra $4 in this case to the contribution amount. So what I would suggest you do is set that to other and then just reduce it to 0, unless you especially want to support this campaign platform as opposed to the person that's actually asking for the money. So there we go. And that's how you support the campaign. If, on the other hand, you didn't have the means to support the campaign, this platform's really well set up for sharing. So you just click on the share button and it just gives you all the different various links that you could use to share it. And it's that easy. So that would be what I suggest you do. There's going to be links going by, hopefully, in the chat, live stream chat any second now. So you can actually go and support this campaign. We are going to extend the live show because we've had well over 120 people watching this whole time, which is great. Good for me. But we will shout out any other supporters of this campaign if they support it during the live show. We've upped it by $100 since we've been running this live show, so I'm really pleased with that. That was what I was hoping. I was hoping we could get it up by about 10%, which is great. So kudos to all of you who supported. If you can, bung a $5 into the campaign just to increase the numbers of supporters that are actually supporting their campaign. It just looks good. You know, when people come along and go, oh, I wonder if this is a popular campaign. 25 people have supported it. Well, definitely. It just encourages others. So if you can bung Chocolate a $5, that'd be really appreciated. If you can bung him $1, it just adds to the numbers. Anyway, we'll get on with this video.
With no air pressure at all. That would be bad because people living in a flat Earth Australia wouldn't have enough oxygen to breathe.
This is literally our argument for how the globe Earth wouldn't have gas pressure. And he superimposed our winning argument onto a flat plane like it's going to work as a straw man argument. I mean, don't get me wrong. Almost 3.5 million people have watched this video and have presumably nodded along as it's got 65,000 likes. You know, it's been exposed to 7.18 million people as he talks about how a flat Earth would leave people without enough oxygen to breathe. No, you know, you need to maybe look up what gives you gas pressure. And you can look at NASA, if you like, your own little citations, because they describe it as the force exerted on the walls of the container by the gas. Well, there's no containment in a heliocentric sphere Earth, or in a pizza pie in a sky vacuum. Not that we're claiming it, but you're undoing your own argument. I mean, we might trim out some of these parts. In fact, I'm going to play that again, so that we can use it in rebuttal. You know, just not with the flat Earth attached to it, you know, because we're not claiming it. But ultimately, your words are useful against a globe Earth.
Is around the edge with no air pressure at all. That would be bad because people living...
I want to play it again, Brian, so I've got it clean. But if you chatter over it, I'll just try that again.
Form one big ocean in the middle. A big concern would be the air pressure on a flat Earth. Gravity would draw too much air toward the Earth's center, leaving the areas around the edge with no air pressure at all. That would be bad because...
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out something that I don't think people take on board enough. If objects weigh, it's about two things, gas pressure and temperature. If objects weigh more in a vacuum, and they do, then there is no explanation for how there is a gas pressure or gas pressure gradient on the globe model. They have nothing at that point. There is no heliocentric model at that point, because what they have to claim is that their gas pressure or gradient and gas pressure is being created via a force of gravity. Now, a force of gravity can't exist if objects weigh more in a vacuum. That's the end of that.
People
there is
living
nowhere
in
else to go.
flat Earth
Secondly,
Australia wouldn't have enough oxygen to breathe.
hang on. There's a second point. We have two temperature gradients, not one. The first one is from surface up to 10 miles. The second one is from 10 miles up above. So temperatures are about minus 51 degrees at 10 miles up, and they start to rise after that. That's two temperature gradients that meet at 10 miles up in the sky. I'm not going to say why that's important. These are up to people to have to think about.
And if you lived closer to the middle, where the Arctic would be, you'd be crushed by the weight of the atmosphere.
It's essentially utilising an old crappy version of a Vsauce video with gravity. He's taken that concept and dumbed it down one stage too many, to the point where it's actually useful for us to debunk their claims of a heliocentric sky vacuum. Whereas at least when Vsauce did it, he wasn't doing it with atmospheric pressure in terms of the force he asserted on a wheel, when he juxtaposed the idea of a gravity with a force onto the wheel. Now, he did that with how Earth might work if it were flat by his conception. So when Vsauce did it, at least he did it in a way that allows the audience to understand that he's proposing a way to visualize the Earth, as opposed to taking an aspect of heliocentrism with gas pressure and imposing it onto a flat Earth to say how it wouldn't work. You know, this guy's just obviously nowhere near as good as Vsauce. I mean, not that the Vsauce magic trick was particularly good, but this is dire by comparison. So let him know, you know, Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I'm sure, obviously, given how absolutely tiny we are, this guy would easily be able to squash us in our claims that he's completely incorrect with his 100 and out of date year rhetoric when it comes to a non-force force that he's using as a force to say that a flat Earth would have air pressure pulled to the centre, leaving people without gas pressure, even though gas pressure requires containment. Let him know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The chat has got my name on it, Nathan Oakley 1980. There's the link to his video. Hopefully he would do the same for me if he responds.
You said Nathan Oakley 1970 for a moment there.
No, I didn't.
That was weird.
But not for long. A flat Earth wouldn't have a geomagnetic field around it.
Why not? I mean, we do have magnetic fields, but suddenly because the Earth's flat, we don't. Again, his inability to be able to conceptualize flat, an aspect, Earth, the ground we're standing on, beyond his sphere Earth, because he's now going to suppose that the molten iron core is creating the magnetic effects on a sphere Earth. And if we didn't have a molten iron core, we wouldn't have the effects. It's like, no, this is going to be his positive claim that he's superimposing onto us again with the burden of proof reversal fallacy.
This field is generated by the movements of the Earth's core.
Called it.
And, well, a flat Earth just wouldn't have one.
Called it.
Nothing would be holding our atmosphere in place, and...
Sorry, what's holding a sphere Earth in a sky vacuum's atmosphere in place, pray tell? Gravity.
The magnetic core is doing that.
No, he said gravity was doing it. And it would cause a problem on a flat Earth because it would all go to the centre of it. All right. Why? What's gravity? Bending force space? But yet you're saying nothing is holding our atmosphere in place. Yeah, that's true for a sky vacuum-based heliocentric sphere Earth. Because gravity doesn't make gas go down, go boom boom at 9.8 meters per second. Gas expands in all directions to fill whatever availability of volume it has to fill. That's how gas behaves. So likewise, you know, over and above your flat Earth straw man you're holding here, right? We're going to ignore that and point out that nothing would be holding our atmosphere, that sphere-shaped air oxymoron, in place. Now notice on his diagram, the air isn't sphere-shaped. So obviously his oxymoron atmosphere that he thinks the air is, atmo being air, sphere being a shape, as opposed to air taking the shape of its containment, his oxymoron doesn't apply to this flat Earth that he's strawmanning us with. Because where do you see sphere-shaped air? There isn't any sphere-shaped air, my friend. Yeah? At best, you've got circular air if you pizza pie it into a sky vacuum, but you've said atmosphere. Do you see a sphere here? Nope. So obviously not applicable. Where does have atmosphere sphere-shaped air? Well, a globe. Well, nothing would be holding our atmosphere in place. Gravity's not a force. And sphere-shaped air or otherwise, gas requires containment to develop pressure, which we definitely have.
Eventually, it would spill into space.
Yeah, definitely would. Instantaneously on a globe. Yeah, we're definitely going to play that again. Everyone else mute.
And, well, a flat Earth just wouldn't have one. Nothing would be holding our atmosphere in place, and eventually, it would spill into space. We'd be exposed to solar radiation that would cause cancer and damage our DNA. And
I'm just going to play that one more time and repeat it verbatim as he says it.
Eventually,
nothing would be holding our atmosphere in place. Eventually, it would spill into space.
It would spill into space. We'd be exposed to solar radiation.
If the sky was a vacuum, we'd be exposed to solar radiation? Now, I don't know if I'll go with that, my friend, because what the hell is the sun again? Oh, right, you've only got your heliocentric sun's explanation when it's at a distance based on an R value debunked by the black swan and the edge that you thought you had for boats to fall over when you asked us about our edge with boats falling off it.
That would cause cancer.
Nathan,
yes.
Just, it would seem that his premise, fundamental premise of why we can't have a flat Earth is because gas go down, go boom, boom. That appears to be the underpin that this magical gravity force, and in this case, it's contradiction. Well, why he believes we have an atmosphere is gas go down, go boom, boom, which in of itself, non-proven and in contravention of natural law, gas behavior. and let QE roll off Boltzmann and all the rest of those things. But it's in complete convention to his mainstream scientific understanding and physical understanding of physics.
It's against Gay-Lussac's law and Brownian motion.
Thank you.
Nathan, if I may, could you please reiterate again why atmosphere is an oxymoron, why it makes no sense, and despite speculation and curiosity, there aren't little circular round pieces of spherical balls of air floating around.
It's not that the shape of the gas is relevant in any way, shape, or form. It could be hexagon.
But that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard some people speculate.
That's not what it means. It's irrelevant of how a gas itself individually is described as being a ball. That's not relevant. What is relevant is the atmosphere is all of the gas being in a sphere shape. All of it around a sphere Earth. Not in containment, just arbitrarily forming the shape of a sphere around a sphere Earth. That's what atmosphere actually means. Sphere-shaped air. Well, no. Gas doesn't automatically and arbitrarily take a sphere shape. What it does do is move at a high velocity in whatever direction it's travelling, in whatever vector, until it collides with something. Now, obviously, under containment, it can collide with other gases that are in the containment with it. And you can develop things like gas pressure gradients and dynamic systems, like the water cycle. Now, those gas cycles can only take place if you have gas pressure, and you can only have gas pressure if you have containment. Now, what Adam's saying is, this guy's entire argument is to say you can't have a flat Earth because gas go down, go boom, boom like bouncy balls. That's his argument. And we're saying, so if we debunk What If's claim that, regardless of how he strawmans us with this claim on a flat Earth, gas doesn't go down with gravity, eradicating every bit of your straw man, but also eradicating your globe Earth in a vacuum. Because in the same way he's claiming that all of the gas would sod off into space on this pizza pie, if I just put a globe in place of this pizza pie, the same principle he's detailing also applies. Because gas doesn't move towards the centre of a sphere Earth, because on all positions that are relative to you if you're there down, gas isn't doing that. All of the gas in this example with the pizza pie, or in a heliocentric example, if I was to make this pizza pie into a sphere, all of the gas would fill the space the same as he's describing. Makes no difference. So he's just debunking space and a sphere Earth in it. Not a pizza pie, just because you put the pizza pie in space and then debunk that gas pressure wouldn't work. Just means we're getting a 2-for-1. Yeah, your straw man is irrelevant. It doesn't debunk a flat Earth in any way, shape or form. It just debunks space. That's what he's doing.
What if he was a wanker, just pulled a switcheroo too? Did you catch it?
No, I didn't. What switcheroo would that be?
The switcheroo was he went on and on about how his atmosphere, bringing contradiction in terms, oxymoron, was held to the Earth by gravity, and then he switched it up to the geomagnetic field was the one that was responsible to hold the atmosphere on his whatever he's talking about.
Did he actually make the claim that I didn't realize? I know that did slip me by. He was actually making it as an assertion that the magnetic fields are responsible for the gas pressure.
No, he's conflating two things. He's conflating the supposed protection from cosmic rays that the geomagnetic field would give us. And the reason we can't have that magnetic field is because we've not got a molten iron core. And then he's using no atmosphere and no protection in the same insult as well.
Yes, I think Adam's right. He's just convoluted two things.
Damage our DNA, and we'd have no breathable air anywhere on the planet.
Right. Oh, that's going to get clipped out. We would have no breathable air on the planet unless your assertions that gas go down, go boom, boom are true. And they're not. All of the gas would fill the availability of volume.
Objects weigh more.
We'd be exposed to solar radiation that would cause cancer and damage our DNA. And we'd have no breathable air anywhere on the planet. So I hope you're able to find a life support system lying around.
Yeah, we agree. We'll be using that as a clip because that's a wonderful statement. Just need to put Sphere Earth in there because it's true for the Sphere Earth, not for us. We assert there is containment to achieve gas pressure. Don't know what it is, but it must be there because we've got gas pressure. Well, good luck with your heliocentric Sphere Earth in a sky vacuum giving you gas pressure. Natural law dictates that the gas would fill the space. What's that? You're saying that gravity is a force getting stronger and stronger on a flat Earth. It's not a force. That does away with your entire argument, my friend. Did you not realise? Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Yeah, but if you can think of it as a force, even though it isn't a force in the heliocentric model, then couldn't you think of it as a force in your straw man conception of a flat Earth model?
He has. Unfortunately, every aspect that is attacked once he's strawmanned it onto a flat Earth pizza pie are aspects that still don't reconcile in a globe, Arwin.
Right. I mean, the whole thing is, it's just the heliocentric model. All the aspects basically presuppose gravity, the solar system, and then it's like, oh yeah, if we presuppose all these things exactly to be like this, yeah, then it makes no sense if the Earth is flat in between all these balls. Oh yes, thank you.
Yeah, but likewise,
Captain Obvious. But you presuppose the rest, though.
But likewise, when you do presuppose all the exact same things he's attacking on a flat Earth, they still apply to his globe, and they haven't been reconciled by gravity. I mean, I don't think he realised how weak it was when he put forth that every aspect he's claiming to now debunk about a flat Earth are actually weak aspects of his globe Earth claim. He just obviously didn't realise. But it seems to me, given the number of subscribers this guy's got and the number of views this video's got, it's immense. It does seem to me that the dumber you are, the more likely you're going to get promoted by YouTube. That's just how it seems. In terms of how it stacks up, the bigger YouTubers like Johnny Harris and this guy, they're the dumbest of them all. Because Neil deGrasse Tyson's, eclipsed by these guys, isn't he?
By that standard, does that mean that I'm smarter than you, Nathan?
If you've got less subscribers, I'm not saying that having less means you're more smart. I'm just saying that if you put out the dumbest shit there is, you'll get 3.5 million views and you'll have 7.5 million subscribers to put the crappy video with nonsense in it too. That's just how that is how it is. I mean, what can I say? That is fact, isn't it?
No, I agree with you. It does happen. And the biggest channels really are not the most state-of-the-art in performance or anything. They just seem to be the most generic, bland, overgeneralized people. And they're not really good examples. They're not somebody to look up to at all, the people that get real high numbers. So I agree with you.
Well, it's like the mainstream media. YouTubers bought into the idiocracy of the world and are promoting it wholeheartedly as quote-unquote preferred content. I keep saying it for a reason. And I keep demanding that people go and let this guy know that we've critiqued his video by saying Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. It's because that is the only way we will ever move forward in terms of our numbers. That's the only way. Because what you need to do to achieve 3.3 million views in this subject is talk about a 108-year out-of-date non-force in terms of what it would do to a flat Earth. Just the biggest pile of garbage nonsense there is gets the most views. That is a fact.
Nathan?
Yes.
Nathan, this gas pressure thing, has he at any time in his imagery shown what the ancients, as they call them, the cultures that show a celestial sphere dome as a container over a flat circle? Does this pizza pie have any containment for gas pressure to even exist in, or is it just showing a pizza pie going up?
Just the pizza pie, no containment around it.
Okay. So the ancients... No, the ancients have something here more than this guy. Because all the ancient depictions show containment over a circular plane.
Right. He's just ignored that to make his strawman work. Atmosphere, atmo-air, aka sphere-shaped air/atmo air, weather within around a sphere-shaped container is presupposed to spherical-shaped Earth belief, says D. Rose from the Super Chat. Thank you very much indeed for the Super Chat. Really appreciate the support.
Well, what's really going on here, Nathan, is it's a kind of a laugh at them flat earthers with their contained gas pressure. That's what's going on.
Okay. One of them comports with natural law and one doesn't.
Now, let's get to those questions we've all been waiting for.
Oh, were we? Hands up who was waiting for some questions from this guy. Looks like you totally misjudged your audience, my friend. Ad break, my bad.
Would orbit what in this arrangement?
Sorry, what would orbit in your presupposed spherical assumption with a pizza pie transposed into it? That's the question we've all been waiting for, is it? No, we ripped it apart the moment you mentioned orbits. The fact that you're now going to attack orbits with a pizza pie in them is just absurd.
Day and night cycle?
What would give you the day and night cycle in your heliocentric model when it's all based around you moving around the sun on a sphere? When we can debunk every single aspect of that positive assertion that you make about the day and night cycle.
Or time zones?
Again, those are based on a flat Earth, Cartesian, got it, grid system, and how they've been superimposed onto things like the azimuthal equidistant projection, or as it is mapped.
Well,
go on.
Sorry about that. I stepped on the end of what you're saying. No, the time zones are all screwed up. They've had to screw them up to fit a globe. That's one of the things that man Recife, the French man, who was a yachtsman for many years. That's one of the things he points out, that the Bering Strait, you go from within a short distance, you go from having a time to after adding 21 hours to that time, because of the way they've had to mess it around. There is more time zones north than there is south, stuff like that. And there should be 3 time zones or 4 time zones in Australia, but there's only 2. You know, this kind of thing. They're globes, time zones. The time zones we are told we have are all based on their globe, and they're all out of sync and out of whack.
Right.
They're all convoluted and mutated to fit their globe.
I covered this in 2014. It was one of the very first videos I did. I'm sure I've mentioned this recently because we're covering maps a lot. But when Mappy Martin, I was about to call him, when Martin Leitker, aka Flat Earth British, and I were looking at maps together, that was one of the first things that we discovered, the discrepancy in the number of time zones. So if you look it up, you'll never find this video, even if you type in this exact title, and I can't be bothered to dig it out. But you can try. It's called, I think it's called 27 time zones on a flat Earth, or something like that. And all I do is just show all of the time zones and count them on a video, and go through how they're all in different positions, and how they've moved, as Brian's just described, some things that want to be a day ahead, 21 hours ahead. You're like, how does that work? It just messes it. There's a certain portion of the Gleasons that when you've got the time zones drawn on it, it just goes all over the place. The lines are all over the place. But yeah, it's a really weird one. That's where they've messed with stuff. The other thing that confirmed that, pretty much off the back of that video, although it wasn't directly associated to it, was us tracking the sun to see where time and date said the sun would be at your zenith, to see if it matched with what they said the time zone the sun was in was. And it didn't. There were several examples where it simply did not match. Somebody was showing their sun at their zenith, directly above their position. I remember one distinctly because the woman picked up a plant pot to show the shadow underneath it. But it wasn't matching with what time and date said in terms of where they said that time would be, because that's what it's going to be based on. It's the zenith position of the sun. Well, it didn't match. That's the bottom line when we were tracking the sun.
The whole thing's a sham, as Brian points out. The best example, if someone wants to look it up with datelines, is a place called the Diomede Islands, which are too tiny. They're in the Bering Strait. And fair enough, they've drawn the line down there, straight down the middle, and they're only a few kilometers apart, these 2 islands. So you think, well, maybe one of them is one day, one's the next, about an hour apart. There should still only be an hour apart if these things are equal. But they're not. And it's a kind of a stitching because they're 21 hours apart in terms of the time and days, which makes no sense because any line should be a division of 1. But in this island, the way in which they've shoved it onto the globe creates this anomaly of a 21 hour. Look it up. It's called the Diomedes.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit up Chocolate Sayings, I was about to say GoFundMe campaign, Give, Send, Go campaign, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on After Show. A massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
With globe, UTC time. So that's why the likes of time and date and that can be wrong, because they're basing all their calculations are based off of what would happen on a globe that they need to happen. That would be obviously including things like the best example is you gave it with the Diomede. Is it the Diomede? Diomede Island.
Do you do a bit more of this video, or do you want to do it again tomorrow?
Before you do, are you aware there's no mods working in the chat? Nobody can moderate. Can't let a message in or ban it or anything.
All right, I'm sure they'll resolve that soon enough.
Yeah,
just. What's your time? What's your time on the video? Let's do it tomorrow. I'll mark it.
5 minutes and 27 seconds.
Okay, this is going to go a few days.
Yeah, it's going to be a relatively short after show because 10th and I've got something to do after the show, and Brian wants to talk to me as well as soon as we round out. Just so you're aware.
I just want 5 minutes of your time. That's all.
No, I haven't forgotten.
Adam, did you happen to look at what I sent you the other day? That little PDF of that table.
I still haven't yet.
All right, so yeah. Yeah,
I kind of enjoyed my break. It was lovely.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't think you'd be looking at it straight away when you're on your break, on your time away. So, but yeah, it's basically it's dip correction where they give a distance to an horizon, but they give it in nautical miles, which means that they are using nautical miles horizontally for all these calculations because they have to. Because not only are they doing trigonometry, but they're also using square roots. And the horizon that they're referring to, even though it's just a mathematical horizon, it's not the real horizon, that can't be lower in elevation than the water underneath the boat. So, the reason I'm focusing on it is because they're using nautical miles. Because this shows, like, the ballers, because even though we pointed it out before, the ballers keep on wanting to talk about how nautical miles are a globe thing because they're all based off the arc, all this rubbish. It's like, no, there it is in celestial navigation, nautical miles being used horizontally. End of story. So that's why I wanted you to go have a look at the maths, and maybe if you follow that table I sent you to, it's you might have to search it in Google. Because I had it in Google, and I closed down Google. I went back to Google, searched again. Google won't give it to me.
Adam, I got a picture. Sorry. I got a picture in Master D of this Diomede Islands. Can you look at it? I got a question to ask you.
Yeah, got it. Diomedes.
Okay. Okay, so this is from Britannica.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that that gap between the two islands marks 21-hour difference in time zone?
Yeah. Not 23 or 1, which could make sense in a little way, if you see what I mean. But 21.
Well, the international dateline is opposite of the Greenwich zero prime meridian, 180 degrees. And this is at the Bering Straits. So it doesn't even comport with the international dateline.
You know what the prime meridian used to be?
Wherever a country wanted it to be.
Egypt, wasn't it? Egypt?
Yeah.
Jerusalem. Now it's
Egypt.
Yeah, I've seen that. No, I've seen that. Yeah, but it's also every country wanted it, but the Brits got it because they had a bigger naval force.
Yeah, it looks better on the map, eh? If we're at the center of everything.
Yep. But this is very interesting. I've yet to finish. Well, in fact, I haven't gone to it since I started. It was that navigator who sailed. He's got 2 videos out now, but I'm not even done with the first one. So if this is on it, it's worth a listen because this is weird.
That's another thing people don't appreciate about the distortions of maps. In terms of how the territory appears on a map, that's very important to the people who are taking over territories. Again, there's so many different ulterior motives to how things have been mapped and modelled. Obviously, they've all got to work with a certain system. But how it appears and how they distort things on the map is very much down to what their propaganda inclinations or where their propaganda inclinations lay. Mercator's the best example of that for things like the prime meridian and the way everything's positioned around us here in the UK.
Yeah, the prime meridian can be any one of the longitude lines.
What's that TV show? Sorry, Brian. What's that TV show where the girl's like amazed because the map is not what she thought it was? The guy's saying nothing is the way it was.
West Wing.
Yes, that's funny and true.
Well, all she's doing is showing the Gall Peters versus the Mercator. That's all she's doing.
Well, when you project it onto a sphere's surface and you put poles, the north and the south, everything's going to be converging there, and your 60 nautical miles is only true at the equator, and as you go up, it narrows and narrows and narrows, so you got problems.
Yeah, my brother was telling me that my son has a good point about the 2 points in the sky. If you put it on a flat plane and you have a dome on top of it. And I'm trying to tell him that we don't know if it's a dome. Don't know what it's on top of. We just forward to his, it's flat, it's this, but it's not. It's a sphere, that's why it does this.
Well, the celestial sphere is the Earth's surface, the arc of the protractor in the globe.
After around our 10th, don't immediately call on Skype, because yesterday when you called, the outro was still running, just so you know.
Yeah, I'll just wait. Why don't you just call me?
Okay.
What about me, Nathan? Will I do the same?
Yeah, well, I'll round out in a minute, and then I'll stay online to talk to you.
I need to talk to you, and just me.
Oh, okay. Should I be worried?
Yeah.
No fair.
No.
Okay. Righto, as this is going to kill the mood. With that, I'm going to say another massive thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, helping out Chocolate Sayings campaign, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!